Ready to go.
Believe we are live. I am just going to share the link. Welcome to the KJ show with the homie Josh Livingston.
How you doing, everyone?
We took a little time off. I mean, we've been busy in the markets, but we were super active in January, obviously, because timing mattered and felt like it was really like more of like a call to action. Like, hey, I'm doing fucking video every day. you know, I'm trying to tell you something. Like something is happening, and I think it's a good time to come back, in my opinion. Let me just share this, and we'll talk about why. But anyway, how you been, man?
Pretty good. Been super busy. We've had a lot of opportunity in the markets. After equities, we had equity moves, equity rallies. Tesla pulled 100% move directly into the $200 targets. That was played actively in the dojo. After that, a lot of focus got shifted back into crypto because, after scanning through, 100 stocks day in and day out, there isn't as much opportunity as what crypto is showing right now. There's a narrative for crypto. There's a lot of opportunity here, and I just think that with the focus recalibrating for crypto right now, it's still very ripe for large opportunity. So, been doing good, staying busy, and trying to maximize whatever we have this year coming at us.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm in a I'm in alignment with you, and I saw the Tesla call in real time, which was, I mean, frankly, just a boss call right there. Amazing. Even on YouTube, we gave you guys a shout out at, I think Tesla was about 110, 120 in that area. We're like, yeah, this is a buy here. And you know, I haven't looked at Tesla's chart since it crossed 200, but we'll look at the charts in a little bit. But at the end of the day, like even though Tesla did 2x, like crypto still represents a way to make more money quickly. And one of the things that, I mean, I'll give you a glaring example. When we came back in January, we were talking about AI coins, and you saw stuff like Imagine X and Crypto AI and like all these different AI coins, FET as well. But the smaller ones, some of them did like 50 to 100x. You were able to make a massive amount of money really, really quickly. And then the next trend, which I was very vocal about, was Arbitrum. Um, and we'll talk about some of the coins on there, but obviously I've been very vocally bullish about Hami since it was at a 1 million market cap, and it made it up to about 25 million, close to 30 million, and now it's sitting around 15. I think it has more room to go up. I think it's really the beginning, but at the end of the day, if you played that play, I mean, that's a very quick 20x you could have got yourself, plus the rewards you would have accrued on the way up. But it's not just Hammy. Like obviously, if you look at Arbitrum, you can see stuff like Grail and the entire ecosystem pumped all the way up into the airdrop. And this is one of the things I was trying to explain my friends in my group chat, that like there's some of them that are still not in crypto. Like 7 years later, since I got in and they made fun of me, they still haven't bought. And I'm like, dude, like just like put your money, just put some money in, because like once a year you're gonna get like free money, really. Like you can start with like $100 and like end up getting a $2,000 airdrop, and like now you're in the game. And the stock market doesn't offer us that, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I'd agree with that completely. I think, like most people that get involved in this space, in order to be a player of the game now and to actually stand a chance to build a large portfolio, you can't really do that anymore with Bitcoin. You can't really do that anymore with Ethereum. I mean, that's the reality. I mean, if Ethereum was back to 200 or $60 and Bitcoin was back to $200 to $500, you would still have an opportunity to make life-changing money with the blue chips. Two things have changed. The market has matured, and the environment, the monetary environment is not there to cause your blue chips to 10-50x again this soon. And so where you're going to find that ability to build a large portfolio with small equity is going to be the cutting edge of crypto. Whether, back then it was Uniswap, now it's Arbitrum, right? And maybe in the future it's something else, but for now, Ethereum's a very wealthy chain, and there's a lot of speculation on top of Arbitrum. And I think there's, again, as you said, with Grail was life-changing opportunity in the midst of not a market cycle like 2020, but you still have life-changing opportunity with Grail, with Hami. I know some people that made, life-changing equity, life-changing money with Hamachi and Grail. And, having that ability in this market climate right now, if you're working with small equity, stocks like Tesla, yes, it's great that it pulled 100% move, but unless you're already working with large capital, that stuff isn't going to move the needle. You got to have a needle to move first. You got to build the needle. Once you get the needle, then you can move it later with these blue chips that have obvious opportunities for 100% bounces, 200% moves.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, I don't know about you, but well, actually, I do know about you. But a lot of us had to. It's not like we all came in here with millions of dollars. We started small and we grew it, and like this is how we did it. Frankly, every now and again, I meet people. I mean, we've all taken accounts on futures and ran it up like crazy numbers. That can be done, but the behavior that you need to like go from like $1,000 to 1 million on Binance futures can also fucking wreck you. Number one. Number two, for each story like that, there's 100 people that lost it all. And, you know, I think like, and I've been saying this, like right now is not the time to like lose money, like trading on leverage, like high leverage.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like we all have the dream of like the big long from 20K and you hold that till 100K, and somebody's going to do it, probably like Don Alt or somebody might have that position still open. I know the Wolf of Poloniex has a nice position open from 20K, but most people aren't going to be able to hold that with size. It's just going to be too much, and you're better off like finding good stuff early and just understanding where you are in the cycle right now. Um, I could have outperformed everything I did in crypto by simply holding the Phantom ICO. That's all I had to do. If I put like 60, 70 ETH into Phantom ICO and I sold it for 50K in 2018. If I held that, it would have been worth over $10 million. And, that would have been it. That's all I would have had to do. So, but easier said than done, right? Because you had to wait for 3, 4 years. But in my opinion, like if you've seen the Schmidt video and like just understanding where we are in this cycle, um, you know, stocks really took a beating. They took a beating. Bitcoin took its 70% retrace. A lot of altcoins were down minus 90% plus. Like, can stuff go lower if you bought today? Yes, of course it can. But in general, if you're like investing in stuff that's like pretty good, most likely, even stuff that's bad, right? Like 2, 3 years from now, there's a very high probability that they will be priced higher, in my opinion. So it's like, don't kill yourself down here. Like I made a tweet about like Tom Lee. It's interesting because you have these people that build these huge followings and they end up going on Fox Business and CNBC and all this shit. And they're horrible traders. Their timing is terrible and they don't bring anything of substance. They're either perma bulls or perma bears. You have, someone like Peter Brandt who kept telling people to short and how bearish it was. And then when Bitcoin goes to 20K in his face and he misses the whole bull run, doesn't touch altcoins, and then it comes back down, he goes, see, I told you it was a bearish, it was a short. But like, it's kind of like the capo thing. But then you also have people like Tom Lee and Saylor who, while it's going down, they're constantly telling people to buy the dip, and they're wrong every single time. But in the long time period, another cycle comes, and then they get to say, "Hey, I told you to buy the dip." When in reality, it's like, you don't want to be Tom Lee all the time. But for me, I'm Tom Lee now. Like this year, I'm going to be Tom Lee. So like when a dip comes, I'm going to tell you to buy it. That's how I see it.
Absolutely. I was actually publicly bearish. I was talking about
You
my
crushed
targets
it.
being 12 to $15,000 Bitcoin. It was a $12 to $15 Solana, $800 Ethereum. We got 15.7 Bitcoin. Ethereum target did not hit, and Solana went a little bit lower than expectations. But what happened personally, excuse me, excuse me. What happened personally was I got spooked out when the whole FTX collapse happened. And so I just ended up focusing on equities during that time and trying to get the same percentage gain that I would have gotten from Bitcoin. After I realized that that was the bottom, once we cracked 20K and we went back to like 24, 25K, on the retracement back to 20, if you watched the last stream that we had, I was bearish expecting a retest of $20,000. We got that. When that happened, I flipped bullish for the entire market cycle. And so that was done publicly. I was waiting for that retest. That retest came. And that was executed upon. And so now we're discussing higher targets. We're discussing what happens next from here. The buy pressure and the speed of the buyback at 20K was remarkable. And I mean, that's very indicative of tremendous strength popping off of the old 2017 all-time high. And I don't think that we're coming back there anymore. So in this stream, we're going to be talking about, opportunity coming up and what we have in store for us. That's right in front of us.
Yeah, why don't you share your screen and we could get started. Sounds good.
All righty, let's go ahead and get started. Let me see if I can present a specific window.
So like Cornholio, part of like, and me and Josh talk a lot. And if you watch the previous streams, we had two different like paths that Bitcoin and crypto could take, and we were like, it's either going to do this or that, and I didn't agree, and his path happened to be the right one. So I'm like, when that happened, I saw Solana hit 15, I saw Bitcoin hit 20, and I'm like, we have to take risk now. And then now with that brings the possibility of bullishness through the summer now, where I was looking for more bullish now than bearish in summer. We got bearish now, which actually gives us a nice runway to go higher through the summer. So I'm starting to pivot away from that idea, unless I see something otherwise in the market. But that's the path that it seems to be taking. So it's better that way, honestly. Then I'll always be bearish at the end of August. No matter what, I'll just wait. I'll do my Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur shit, and then I'll see what the market is doing after that's done. But like towards the end of the summer, I'll always be bearish. But I think we definitely have the possibility to get hot, like when the weather gets hot too.
Absolutely. Are y'all seeing the screen right now? Just verification real quick.
They should be. Yep. Yeah, they got it.
All righty. So let's jump right into it. So we're going to talk about Bitcoin real quick and start off with here. So two remarkable things happened recently over the course of the last few weeks. What we had was a break above the 200 MA. Now, the relevance of this moving average is that it held the 2018 bear market bottom. It held the COVID capitulation. And then you had the breakdown from this location, an interaction over here back in August 22. We bull flagged down below it, popped up against it again as resistance. That was part of the reason why I was bearish at the time. Once we got back down to 20K, my expectation was further upside aggressively. We got a massive pop above the 200 MA. And now that we're back above the 200 MA, this essentially suggests that we have a lot further upside coming up, right? We defended 20K properly. We got back above the 200 MA. This same moving average held a lot of weight given the bear market's bottom that we were at before in regards to perfectly touching it on the nose and bouncing off of it, forming the bottom over here, forming the bottom over here. Second of all, not only are we above that now, we're going to have a strong support at 25,800, but on a logarithmic scale, we were also able to pop back above. We were also able to briefly pop back above this geometrical angle that we had extending from 2015. Now, this is not as notable as the 200 MA over here, but the reality now is that we are one step closer from breaching this trend line that we have here, which would allow price to start seeing some of these higher targets that are going to be sitting at $33,000 to $34,000. And then we have our next location that's going to be at $48,000. And personally, my targets for the rest of this market cycle is I do think that we're going to run up into the 33 area, but I don't think that that's it. I'm looking around $48,000 on Bitcoin before this quote unquote move could start to get exhausted. I'm using 2019 as an example of where we can go, but the reality is right now is that we have many high time frame indicators that are starting to flash in a very bullish way. We also have the 60 SMA on the weekly. Once that loads, you can see we have the 60 SMA on the weekly, and the relevance of that is that gave you the beginning of the bull market in 2020, right? Once we flipped that and hugged that as support, that gave you the entire bull market, and it also gave you the perfect back test June 2021. And look at the perfect resistances over here when you got the breakdown. This was signaling an exit. Meanwhile, Michael Saylor and a bunch of other people kept saying, buy the dip, buy the dip. For the first time, if you're a swing trader, you have gotten the confirmation technically to get involved, right? Technically, the confirmation has arrived. And so not only do you have this area that's going to be steep support, you're now going to have the 200 MA that's going to be steep support. So you have these two locations that are providing such a technical confluence of strength as well as the bounce off of 20K that the macro image of what this implicates is a $33,000 to $34,000 target as well as a $40,000 to $48,000 target, which I think is going to take some months to manifest. But as we're speaking right now in this call, the expectation prior was a retest of 20K. We got that. Now we've propped above all moving averages that are relevant. Now the expectation is further upside from here. Now, when we move on from Bitcoin and we take a look at the crypto total market cap, we can see that we back tested the 21 MA. And on this resolution, the relevance of the 21 MA was the perfect rejection that you had over here at the $2 trillion market cap range. You fell through it. And then you retested it once, twice. Third time was a little bit of a fake out, but once you reclaimed it, you retested it perfectly and popped back up. We do have a range resistance that we're at now, but the more you test a resistance and the more you encounter that resistance, the higher and higher the probability becomes that you're going to break it. When we take a look at our other moving averages and see where we're ranging right now, this chart has potential. If we break above the $1.15 trillion market cap range, this chart has potential to go to $1.5 trillion. And I do think with the Bitcoin being at $40,000 to $48,000, we do have a potential as this year carries on to have a market cap, reinflation market cap of the crypto total market cap at around $2 trillion. So I do think that this show is just getting started. For people that think that they missed the entire market cycle, it's over and there's no opportunity for me. I think there is a tremendous amount of opportunity. You just got to know where to look. You already had things like Grail pop off. You had Hamachi pop off. This is the beginning of the popcorn, in my opinion. Altcoins right now are not seeing really unless you're in some niche environment like Arbitrum, altcoins are getting kind of hammered right now. Judging based on the Bitcoin dominance, you can see that Bitcoin dominance has certainly seen quite an influx off of the bottom. You're sitting at the range high on Bitcoin about 46 to 48%. We can see resistance here, and we may see a pullback here. Although if we see a pullback, I'm not expecting any kind of alt season. Ultimately, if we get an alt season, I do think that Bitcoin dominance needs to come up a little bit higher to 50 to 55. At the end of the day, I'm looking at the individual alt BTC pairs to dictate where an entry should and could be. And I'm not really basing it on this in totality. I know certain pairs like ETH BTC are showing relative bearishness. It's not extremely bullish. However, at this moment in time, which we're going to take a look at that in a second, if we do get a pullback right now, we can see some relief on altcoin pairings. So we have two levels. We have a level at 50 to 55, which I think in alt season, a rejection from that location and a 15 to 20% pullback could open the door for a large move on altcoins. If we get a pullback right now, you might see some, short-term relief, but nothing huge, right? Nothing huge. When we pop over and take a look at certain altcoins like Solana, in the trading dojo, we had bids set from 16 to 17. I'd been planning for this move ever since we actually reached $24 in January. I was expecting a small time distribution, a retest around this zone, and a reclaiming of these moving average. So far that has happened, right? We're bouncing on the 99 MA. If we clear the 200 MA over here, and if we can clear that range, my expectation for Solana is that we're going to be seeing the breach of this resistance over here, as well as the escalation in strength, which is going to ultimately lead you, if we get that $2 trillion market cap scenario on altcoin dominance, on the crypto total market cap, what I expect to see for Solana and in Confluence is a $60 to $80 target coming out of these lows. Once this trend line is broken over here, Solana is escalating from the steepest trajectories of strength into a more from some, into relief, and then a potential parabolic run leading up into the $60 to $80 target, which still leaves, if you talk about that from right this second, that's still about a 240% move. You haven't missed anything, guys. You still have a tremendous amount of opportunity. Percentage gain is percentage gain. It doesn't know where it's coming from. You could get it from Bitcoin. You could get it from Solana. You could get it from Hamachi. You're not priced out of Bitcoin. You can get that same result from something else as long as you know where to look. So I'm pretty bullish on, altcoins. I think there's a lot of room here. When we look at other things like, Aptos, we can see that Aptos BTC pair is it's crashing down from its high.
It's nasty looking.
Absolutely, it is nasty looking. However, I do have a range low set here, and if we can come down to this range over here around 35,000 satoshis, there's a very nice level for Aptos to react from. The reason why I'm even bringing this up is because at some point Aptos earlier this year outperformed Solana by about 200%.
Yeah.
So I do think that, there is value here to keep paying attention to this guy. The Aptos BTC pair doesn't look the prettiest, but I do think that there's going to be another a momentum wave coming off of this. And if this guy comes down right around here, we might be able to see a pop. And the structure that we're seeing right here is very, very relatable to, Doge. Coming off of its crash cycle, Doge had a very similar structure in regards to how it sold off. And when we take a look at
I think
the
Aptos
sell-off
does that.
style,
What you just saw, like I think it'll go below, like you may get that pop. You see, even Doge kind of did it, and then that's a bull trap. Ultimately, its destination is like slightly below its consolidation range. Before that high, that's where everybody says it's over, and then it takes off. And that's kind of where we're sitting on Doge. Interesting enough. Like
this is the most important
BTC
range
is
to
getting
me.
to a very interesting spot now.
Yes. Doge as well. I think that, Aptos is if I had to say where is Aptos in this, section, I'd probably say Aptos is somewhere around here or here. Once it comes back down to this wave one location, expect a reaction. When we pull up Aptos and take a look at where that is, that's right around here. That's why I'm saying, expect a reaction here. There's another structure that looks pretty relatable to this. Back in the day, I traded this a few years ago, back when Cardano came off of its crash cycle and came all the way back down to the first wave. You had a reaction coming off of that, which was about 100% against Bitcoin, which allowed you to kind of like, let's say you didn't buy Bitcoin low. This would allow you to add more Bitcoin if you traded this move, which would allow you to essentially act as if you did pick up Bitcoin at $21,000, $22,000, right? So I do think that we're going to have opportunity on alt BTC pairs at some point. That's going to provide.
Let me stop you for 1 second.
Sure.
We have 50 people watching right now. Okay, it's not the most. It's not crazy. We probably know most of you. It's the homies. But I will say this. In comparison to the quality of content that is delivered on YouTube in regards to crypto on the norm, I like to think that the stuff that we provide is at a much higher level than what you're usually going to get. This is valuable information. And frankly, I could be playing UFC 4 right now on PlayStation 5, but we chose to do this. So at the very least, can we get some likes? Like, can I have likes? Can you subscribe? Do something? Because honestly, we don't need to do this. It's like, we really don't. But I enjoy doing it. But like, come on, hook us up, guys, please.
I actually have my live alarms going off while the stream's happening. 27.4 is a bullish level to breach. We start breaching that level, things start to get really bullish here. But I would absolutely agree with you. I think that, our streams are very, very valuable, especially if you've been in the dojo. If you haven't been in the dojo, the reality is that everything that needs to be called has been called. Moves that can benefit people with portfolio sizes under 50K and under 10K, moves for people that have portfolio sizes from 50 to 500 and a million, moves for people that have 7 figures and more, regarding Tesla, regarding Solana, regarding Aptos. So many things were discussed publicly and played, and the dojo was able to benefit off of so many different ecosystems of markets in general that all capital sizes found value. I know that there are some ecosystems where it's just the capital sizes of 1 million up because they're talking about Google and Google finding support and Netflix finding support, and that's all great and all. But when I was first starting out, that's not where I was looking, because I knew that, like, I'm not about to sit here and turn $1,000 into 100,000 trading these close to $1 trillion market cap stocks. So I do think that there's been a lot of value added, and we continue to bring value. So if you guys could share and subscribe, that would be absolutely great. So moving on real quick, and we're gonna just wrap this up fairly quickly. We have 2 more things to cover. Lastly, talk a little bit about Arbitrum and what we're seeing there, and then I'll toss the mic back over. We have a Arbitrum right now, potentially forming a bottom here. I know KJ called this perfectly. Called the bottom on Arbitrum. We had anything below this range seems to be a bear trap below the 117 range. We popped back above, started bull flagging above MAs, and now we're trying to escalate in some kind of parabola. And this could potentially lead us either into resistance over here, or this could pop out and start to make its way back up to the 140 to 150 region. If we get a massive move on Bitcoin at $28,000, $29,000, $30,000, don't be surprised if this guy pops up to 140 to 150. So the only way that I'd see this to be invalidated is if we somehow pop back below 117. If that doesn't happen, the expectations are for further upside here. So lastly, we're going to take a look at Ripple. So Ripple obviously saw some momentum here. We are at resistance on the 200 MA. If we go a little bit higher, we have resistance at the 99 MA around 63 cents. I'm personally not trading Ripple. I think I've just kind of ignored it over the years just because of its of what Ripple was. I never thought there was a fundamental reason. However, this looks like a crash cycle slowly escalating out. There could be, a continued move here. However, one thing I would say is that there's quite a lot of ranges and areas for, Ripple to bang its head on at this point. You have, in 17%, you have your old geometrical support becoming resistance. And then not that much further from there, around 23%, you have the 64% range. That's going to be your 99 MA, which historically speaking, held your last support before you finally broke down from it, right? And then back in 2020, this was a very well-respected moving average in terms of on-the-nose resistances, on-the-nose supports multiple times. So I'd be careful here. There could be room for further upside, but
would you short that?
Surprised. I would absolutely not short this. Yeah, absolutely not shorting this. Because there's so much further upside here. There's so much further upside, and right now the market looks like it's on the verge of making a larger move up, a larger expansion. If you're going to short anything in crypto, you have to consider you're essentially shorting this. You don't want to be shorting this. Like, yes, we could go down to 23.5. We could go down to, we could retest this location, but that's not a high probability move. In the face of macro data points shifting, it's not time to get cute about a potential 10 to 15% pullback. It's time to think macro and how can I extract the largest amount of value from what could be coming? Selling large positions to buy back 10% lower is just, I'm not sure if this would be the right word to use, but asinine. It's not a logical decision. If you want more Bitcoin, focus on alt BTC pairings and when they shift so you can actually accumulate more Bitcoin. You don't have to sell Bitcoin and buy lower. And I don't want to get priced out of the market completely. So I'm not interested in selling to buy back potentially 10% lower. There was plenty of people on this rally that got left out because they were so focused on trying to stack more Bitcoin through selling Bitcoin and buying lower. How many pullbacks did you have that were actually worth selling and buying back lower? 16% over here, right? What about over here? 22%. Fantastic. What about over here? 28%. Okay, one thing I'll say is that during all of those pullbacks, any altcoin would have likely outperformed all of those pullbacks and give you the same mathematical result in regards to having more Bitcoin if you just played those instead. So my attention is on the alt BTC pairings. And lastly, moving on from Ripple, kind of going to Arbitrum real quick and Hamachi. One thing I got to say is that we always try to find. I remember back when Uniswap first came around, I was looking for whatever was going to pull 1000x, right? And at the time, it wasn't a well-accepted idea, an adopted idea that another Dogecoin replica was going to pull 1000x. I shared it to a lot of people. It was unpopular, and in fact, I was told it was stupid. Right? It was a stupid idea. However, and I had a large position in Shiba Inu, and I looked about 10 coins, right, and 7 of those coins practically went to zero. It was like 2 or 3 of them that actually performed well, and those 1% made up for everything. That was Shiba Inu. That was Hex. Well, those times have moved on, right? Uniswap is kind of a thing of the past. And one thing I've noticed about crypto all the time is that whenever there's cutting edge technology, whether it's a new exchange, whenever Binance was new, there was 100x's everywhere. Whenever Uniswap was new, there was 100x's everywhere. Whenever Arbitrum was new, there probably still going to be 100x's here and there, right? Grail. Right, I think Hamachi already pulled 100x from the very, very, very beginning. However, it doesn't mean it can't pull another 50x from here, right? Shiba Inu was that example. So when I look at things like this, ultimately I'm looking at market cap. I'm looking at how much further room there is to run, and I do think that the way that I gauge whether or not these trends are exhausted are not from the charts. They're from the fact of whether or not we have seen the largest inflow of capital that this cycle has to see. Right? The top on Bitcoin, the second top on Bitcoin was the top on Shiba Inu, right? The first top, if I'm not mistaken, it was the first or second one on Bitcoin was the top on Hex. So the second top on Bitcoin was the top on Solana. So has the velocity of capital slowed down in regards to entering this space yet? The velocity of capital hasn't even bought the top yet.
It hasn't even started, really.
Right, exactly. So when that velocity comes in, what do you expect to happen on something like Arbitrum? People in this market place are always looking for the next hot thing to speculate on. And I do think that the whole meme thing is so overdone now. I don't think there's going to be a third Dogecoin, whatever. However, I do think that the combination of MemeFi together stands a very, very good chance in regards to being that next one that runs 100x, or not 100x, 1,000x, goes up to the $500 million market cap, billion-dollar market cap, because the reality is that, what did Shiba Inu do different than Dogecoin? They essentially took PlayStation 1 and made it PlayStation 2. They added Shiba Swap. They added like a few little fancy things, but the reality is it's still a Dogecoin, still a meme coin, but they added a little bit of few fancy gadgets that weren't possible before. Now, what happens when you do that again on Arbitrum? So Livermore, famous Livermore, used to say that everything that has happened in Wall Street before will happen again and again and again because human behavior hasn't changed for thousands of years. Now apply that to risk-seeking behavior on new platforms. And what does that lead you to? When I click and scroll through Arbitrum, what do I see? I don't really see any competitors or anything that could be like Hamachi. And, I'm not suggesting anybody, sink the whole ship into it, sink the whole boat into it. However, what I am saying is that there are going to be maybe 1 to 3 coins that come out of Arbitrum that have a massive potential to run 1,000x or do run 1,000x. And I do think that so far right now, Hamachi stands a pretty good chance. I know we've talked about small caps previously, talking about things that had a good chance to run up high. We talked about Omnom. That thing ran up high. I think it pulled like a 200x or something, but ultimately at some point the chain dissolved because it took 7 days to get your funds out. And it's like, not only that, but like, who wants to denominate in Dogecoin 24/7? Dogecoin wasn't a rich chain either, right? Doge chain was not a rich chain. Ethereum is a rich chain. That's why, when you saw Uniswap and Shiba Inu develop off on top of that, you saw a lot of velocity of capital, going into there. So I'm very optimistic about what happens with Arbitrum and the opportunity, the forward value here. I'm certainly speculating with a part of my portfolio on certain things that are on Arbitrum, but at the same time, I maintain my focus on larger caps like Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum. So, and speaking of which, we haven't even covered Ethereum in this call. We're gonna have to save that for next time, just because I don't want to run too much over. However,
go for it.
Sure. All right, let's go over Ethereum real quick. So 2 things that we discussed was the ETH BTC pair. So let me look at that real quick right alongside of this. So when I was saying the ETH BTC pair was bearish, the whole reason for that was because we were breaking down from a shock wave, and that shock wave breakdown, really its target now, if it bounces, is the 680 region. And that's just a resistance, guys. I mean, in order for Ethereum BTC to be bullish again, you need to crack 730. And if you can't crack 730, this is a rounded top distribution, which likely results in a bounce up to 678, 680, and an eventual dump down to the 50. I don't think that leading into summer, Ethereum is necessarily going to be as bullish as Bitcoin. I think that it's going to underperform Bitcoin to some degree. And I think that the Ethereum BTC pair is sort of revealing that with the rounded top that we have here, the distribution. And I think that, after Bitcoin hits around $48,000 or, 40 plus, you might see an opportunity on Ethereum BTC pair again. But, this is one of the charts I was talking about in regards to suggesting that we're seeing altcoin weakness, right? The 99 MA, which is one of the most respected MAs on Ethereum BTC, bounced over here, has been violated, right? We broke down from it, and any kind of move back to here is just rejection unless you somehow close the weekly candle back above. And if you don't do that, then the implications are 5.0, which suggests a weaker Ethereum versus Bitcoin as the year carries on. Now, when we take a look at Ethereum USD, what we can see here is bullishness. Let's pop some MAs and take a look at where we're at. We can see that we tagged the 200 MA perfectly on the nose, and we bounced up from it. We're now running into the 60 SMA. And the reality is that, previously in the dojo, I talked about the fact that we're probably going to ping pong here for, a few weeks. We're already past that phase from ping-ponging between 1,700 and 1,450. Not only are we past that phase, we've been in this range for so long that at this point, my expectation is a move up to 23 to 2,400. However, like I said, that's likely to be accompanied with an underperformance against Bitcoin due to the ETH BTC pair. If the ETH BTC pair starts to get rejected here and starts to dump, then yes, it's going to underperform. I hold 0 Ethereum right now, 0. Other than Ethereum that I'm using for Arbitrum and stuff like that. I don't have a large Ethereum core position due to this data that I'm looking at on the ETH BTC pair. If that changes, if that flips, Of course, I'm willing to flip just so I can have better opportunity cost. So I think after 23 to 2400 it hits on Ethereum, a later target that we could probably see mid this year around summer is probably 3500. Around that time, I'm looking to scale out of the market again, guys. I'm looking to get out. I'm not expecting new all-time highs. I think that in order to have new all-time highs, you probably need a fundamental catalyst of the magnitude of what we saw with the COVID stimulus, the March 20 stimulus. I think that we're going to need to see something like that, and that money to actually go into the economy, right? If you're printing money and you're building tanks and sending it over abroad, and you're sending it over to Ukraine, I don't think that is going to cause direct inflation as much as it did whenever businesses got money and people got money, and that directly entered the circulating supply, that directly entered the economy. So I think that you're going to need a catalyst. If you don't have that catalyst, then my expectations are potential top around 40 to 48,000, Ethereum, 3,000 to 3,500. People saying like, why are you putting limits and saying that we're not going to break new all-time highs? Look, we could break new all-time highs, but when I'm driving a car, I don't think about the stoplight that's 4 stoplights ahead of me. I think about the stoplight that's right in front of me. If I don't pay attention to the stoplight that's right in front of me, what happens? I end up hitting a car. And if I end up hitting a car, that metaphor is akin to me not taking profits when I should have taken profits, right? So let's talk about resistance 1, let's talk about resistance 2, and then we'll talk about potential new all-time highs if we break above those levels. You can always scale out. You don't have to be 100% right for the last target. I can scale out along the way, right? I can be a little bit right here, a little bit right there, and a little bit right, and still benefit the entire time. I don't have to be
You're talking about
fully
just
right into new
you're
all-time
talking
highs.
about just for this move right now.
I'm talking about for the rest of this market cycle that we have this year. I have some people like asking, why aren't you talking about potential new all-time highs? Why are you limiting it at
You're just thinking about right now your play into the summer. That's it.
Exactly.
That's it.
And then we see what happens after that.
Right. And maybe I don't think it's coming this year, but I would say by 2025, I think we will see a 6-figure Bitcoin. I think it's doable, to be honest.
You are absolutely potentially right. However, there are major resistances to bang our head on above, which we could consolidate for 6 months. Who wants to bag hold for 6 months again? You know what I mean? So there's opportunity to take profit to get back in. We may never see a $15,000 Bitcoin again, right? We may never see that again. You may come out of this range and you may never see that again, but you could consolidate above 20K for 3 years or 2 years.
Never say never in crypto. Never say
never.
True.
That's absolutely true. There's a lot of people that said we're never seeing below 20K again. And below 20K was a brief amount of time, which eradicated all those people that had that idea that, that was the maximum fear. Right below 20K, get rid of everybody and come up out of it. So that's it for my segment. Sorry if that was a little bit long.
No, you're good.
Just wanted to get as much value as I could.
Because it's like, it's screwy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go. No, that was great. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, isn't having a catalyst? I mean, yeah, but you have time. You got to understand where we are in the cycle, Cornholio. Like, we're still early. Like, this is like, we're like basically coming out of a bear market. And typically when you come out of a bear market, you have a move that gets people excited, and then it retests the top of that range that you broke out from. So like where we are right now, we can go to 40K, 50K, and we can come back here. And that would be like your golden entry, basically. So like, let's say we retest this area from the top, and you get Bitcoin at like 28K, 28.5, something like that, on a dip from 50. And that's your 45.
Hey, Jay, are you sharing your screen?
No,
sorry to bother.
Yet. Not yet.
Okay, sorry.
Not yet. I'm just talking shit. But like you go up to 50, then you come back here, and then everybody says it's over, and then you go to 100K over the span of like 2 years. But that revisiting of this area is like your last chance to truly buy, like the ultimate dip. But on the way up, as you go up, you have dips the whole way. So, for me to share, I would have to, let's change this. So they're not going to see you. And okay. All right, so they're seeing my screen now. And honestly, you were so comprehensive that I don't really have too much to cover here. What I want to talk about is, well, yeah, Bitcoin dominance. So I'm using the adjusted one right now. This is starting to show a deviation outside of the range. So you have basically like this is your neckline, and you had this distribution area here that just couldn't get through it. Then we've been pushing above it, but if this were to fail and then kind of re-enter this area, I would be expectant of definitely some upside on alts. And one of the things that we could discuss even is you're looking at Doge BTC, which you know can make an explosive move off these levels, for sure, but also XRP. And Stillman was talking about he was theorizing that XRP's bullishness was kind of pricing in or implying them winning some sort of a lawsuit, winning the case. I think what is it against the SEC or CFTC? I don't remember. One of the regulatory bodies, but they're in the midst of a case with regulators. And if XRP were to win that, I mean, what do you think that means for altcoins, Josh?
I think that that sets a precedent for speculation, right? I definitely incorporated that into my analysis in regards to how that's going to affect other altcoins. I think that risk on bid will return to other altcoins. And so I wasn't actually looking at it from that angle at all until Stillman shared it in the Dojo weekly call.
Neither was I.
And then I kind of incorporated that potential catalyst into other plays like Solana and Aptos, and then, more risk on approaching Arbitrum. So I definitely think that that is an overall win for the altcoin space. However, we do need technical confluence in regards to dominance and then individual altcoin pairings showing strength.
Yeah. So basically, this is going to go probably one of two ways. Um, if this does not reject, and but what I mean reject, I mean like come down here like soon. This is going to be most likely heading up into this cluster here, and that's a move that goes like this and come not all the way up there, but most likely into this area right here. And if this happens while Bitcoin is going up, that's actually extraordinarily bullish. Okay. It'll feel like shit at the time because your alts will be losing Bitcoin value at a very fast rate. And there will be days where Bitcoin goes up 5% and your alt goes down 2% versus the dollar. But ultimately, that would, if that happens and Bitcoin is kind of like moving into the 30s, into the mid 30s, and this is going up like this, people will tell you it's like bad. But at the end of the day, if you see Bitcoin dominance in this area, basically also if Bitcoin's dumping and Bitcoin dominance is coming up here, if you ever see Bitcoin dominance in this area, in my opinion, that's the time to go extremely heavy in alts. Like you kind of want to kind of like you know I mean, I know there's women in the chat, or at least Future World is a woman, but you grab your balls there and you just go heavy into alts if you see this area hit, right? We've made that call before. The last time I said grab your balls and buy alts was here, right? Like that was a level we were looking for. But if you get this guy, especially if Bitcoin's going up, man, it's like I would sell all the Bitcoin I have to go into alts here, and maybe not like all into small cap alts, but you diversify into stuff like Sol, for instance, or anything, whatever you like. It won't matter if it comes up here. You just buy alts, okay? But what else did I want to show? I mean, we might as well. Yeah, okay. I have an idea. Let's look at that screen. So yeah, back to Arbitrum. Yeah, ETH is the biggest chain. A lot of money is still bridging over there. One of the things I was looking for, so like last night I tweeted, you probably should be buying Arbitrum here. Like a lot of the things that I'm looking for are hitting. There are multiple things, but GMX was definitely showing strength. If you look at, I mean, look at this volume right here. This is big volume. Hasn't made a decision, but this is close to breaking out. And in my opinion, I mean, GMX being like basically the main blue chip on the chain. Um, if this is leading, that's a very good sign for the rest, and you'll see others trickle into it. Grail as well.
That looks very bullish. GMX looks very bullish.
Yeah, GMX looks bullish. Grail looks like it's trying to reverse as well. That's a very good sign.
Yep.
Uh, you have Magic. Magic not as bullish as GMX, but basically you have like this resistance and it's making this wave above it. So if you have your high or low here, and that's a long ways away. But if GMX starts to break out, Bitcoin breaks out, there's a reasonable chance that this is the high or low, and then this can start to flirt with the top of this range. And if you can get out of this guy, I mean, there's the move. Like I guess the summer move would be like up to here, right? In this area for Magic. So if you're a Magic bull, like yeah, playing the bottom of this range, I kind of like that. Not as good as GMX. RDNT, they're going to BSC, I believe, soon. Um, I don't know what pair I'm on. Where's the good pair? The most history, yeah. Like looking at this, like who am I to like? Does this look like it's over? It doesn't have to be, right? Like this can just be fucking bullish, and keep going and repricing, leaving people in the dust. This looks pretty strong. So what I think is happening is you have a bunch of people trying to force a rotation into ZK. When I look at ZK, it's like nothing but like ZK Doge and like garbage, really. And there isn't that much built over there, and I don't think it's time yet. I think ZK will have its time, and Xavi's more of a ZK specialist than I am. But just based off of sentiment and like the way people are trying to force that rotation off of Arbitrum because the token didn't go to $10 overnight, and just to me, I think they're going to regret leaving Arbitrum. Let's put it that way. I think that this has the whole ecosystem has another run. But what's happening is money is gravitating towards the quality, and the shit that popped up like overnight and didn't do too well or whatever a lot of money grabs and that type of thing, um those are going to lose value. And even then, if the ecosystem pumps, some of them will pump as well, but for the most part it's like money is gravitating into the better projects. And Josh already talked about Hamachi. Obviously, if you follow me, I'm uber bullish on this. And like when you look at this, like it's just gonna make a wave. Like I don't know if it's gonna break out right now per se, but like what I can say is if you actually do the research, there's a lot of reasons why this can continue to outperform. And one of them being like the way it was launched with the holder distribution. The holder distribution is extremely fair. You're not going to find this like anywhere else. So like if I click on like holders, right? So the number one is the vesting. That's like the ecosystem grants and the pre-sale, which has 30%. That makes up 60% of the supply. That starts to unlock in July. I know that the team has discussed like different plans to kind of try to like get the pre-sale people to, maybe do a longer vest or something like that. I don't know. Those discussions can happen in the future. Marketing. This was the infamous wallet that was scammed with the OTC that actually ended up bringing the high. But then the third wallet is the Ponzu DAI, DAE, not a DAO, which is basically a smart contract that only is programmed to buy more Hami. It can never be moved or sold. So the basically the largest circulating wallet is the DAE, the DAI, which is a black hole for Hami. Number 4 is the Sushi Swap LP. 5 is some guy who's never sold a token. I may or may not know who that guy is, but he's making like a nice middle class income from the rewards thus far. 6 was a burn wallet that the team before the DAI was made. But basically, the point that I'm trying to make is that in these top wallets, like there's some people are starting to get a little higher, but there's only like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's only 5 people with over 1% of the supply. And then like if you look at like the 50th, like if you have 0.1%, you're in the top 50. For a token that's been around and like this big, like it's very rare, honestly. And you see that like in these dips, it's basically like people are buying the top and then they're selling and panic selling, and some people are selling, for the most part. But this whole flag structure shook like all the weak hands out, and the top people are not really selling. So, what you have is a project that the team has been constantly using marketing money to buy more tokens, buy them on market, put it in the DAI, and they're going to be doing the next chain very soon. And I think once people understand that they're going to be airdropped one of one, a new Hamachi fork by the same team with no pre-sale on a separate chain, and that you could basically expect them to launch on multiple chains, giving the OG Hami holders access to each chain at what's it, 14 million market cap. Once the market gets a little hotter, I think this has potential to go much higher. And people ask me like what my targets are. Like I don't know. Like I've always said, if it's under 100 million, I find it to be disappointing. Like I
Well,
truly believe. Yeah.
one thing I'd like to add with that is that like people expect like you cannot have something that goes 1,000x without volatility. There's no way. Like people complained about Bitcoin, it's unsafe to invest because it's too volatile. You cannot have a 10x, 100x, 1,000x without volatility. It's impossible. So whenever you see massive volatility happening on Hamachi, that shouldn't really spook you out, because if the idea is that this is going to 1,000x, this is on course on what it should be doing.
Yeah, to be transparent, I'm one of those top 10 holders. I held through all of this, right? This was a 70% drawdown with low volume. Look at the volume. So the rewards were not overwhelmingly good, right? Then it took off in here. I didn't sell any. I actually bought more up here, right? And people were making FUD saying I was selling. I didn't sell because my rewards are so freaking good and I know where it's going. Like I know this is going to go higher in my opinion. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But it's the same. I would take this bet every single time. And when I have conviction, I have to see it through. But holding like a large bag of this while taking, what's this, like a minus 50%, something like that, 55%, maybe a little more. It sucks because you're like, holy shit, I just like lost like multiple six figures in value. But at the same time, I know it's going to go higher and I'm making like really nice rewards in that time period and I'm enjoying the volume. So, it's tough and it's not for everybody, but that's how I'm playing it. And you know, I think people that like don't understand it, like so everybody's talking about what's the next Hamachi. I don't want to FUD other projects, but like people are like, yeah, this is the next Hamachi. It's a lot of ego involved. Like people faded Hamachi and they never really did the research. So they're like, fuck that coin. I'm gonna make my own coin. That'll be better. Like they don't realize Hamachi, like the team planned that for like over a year and launched like basically at the beginning of like this cycle's real pop. They launched on the day Bitcoin went over 20K. The timing was exceptionally good and they picked the right chain. And every coin that they farmed for the most part has gone up. So, this was well prepared. It wasn't like, hey, the market's hot. I gotta make something right now. Like there was no rush job on this. This is a really well planned and executed project. And the team has done nothing but show that they're genuine and they want to do the best for their community. So I'm willing to bet on that. But something like this, yeah, it's the next Hamachi. Everybody FOMOs in. Look what happens. Fucking wrecked. Wrecked. These people are selling with a 30% buy tax, right? I feel bad for them. But, it is what it is. If you look at the distribution, a lot of these coins, and I'll tell you this, a lot of these coins are launched with quote unquote alpha Telegram groups, meaning like somebody like me will get an invitation to a Telegram and then the dev will tell us, oh, we're launching a stealth launch, and then they'll give us the contract as soon as it launches and everybody in the thing will fucking buy. Like that's what people do, right? Hamachi didn't do that. They didn't do that, and you could see it by the holders. Nobody has too much of this. Plus, they raised 100K in ETH, and they put it all into LP, right? Meaning, like you couldn't just buy like 1% of the supply for like $500. You had to put serious money in to get up there. And I think that's part of the problem that I'm seeing on ETH is like all these different meme and LARP coins. They're all launched in private alpha groups, or they're getting botted and sniped. And you have 50 people with over 1% of the supply. So it's like 50% of the whole market cap is owned by 50 people. when one or two of those people start to sell, the others start to sell, and then you get this. And, I'm just kind of sick of that. I don't like it. So anyway, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's just how it goes, man. It's what it is. But let me see. I don't know, like I don't have too many charts. Like you covered the charts. It's just like just miss doing YouTube. Fun. you know? I
Try to
don't
do
know.
these at, timely spots of the market, whenever there's a lot of value that's about to happen. One thing I will say is that there is potential for it, for a small pullback on BTC. We're looking
Of
at a
course.
potential for 23,500, but the reality is that like dips are for buying. I'm not interested in doing anything with that. I'm not interested in selling, buying back lower. If anything, I'm just going to add more if we go down there. Some
Those
altcoins
two
are.
MAs where they cross, that area is an area that you can see get tagged, and you could potentially play like a long on there, I think.
Hmm.
Like when I see
Hmm.
that, like you have these strong levels, it's like honestly, if it's like real bullish, like it kind of gets front run or it doesn't go there. But like you could definitely see that area hit. I wasn't sure exactly what price that was, but I wouldn't be surprised at all to see that happen.
That's going to be 25,600.
Yep,
So it's like,
makes sense.
what's there worth doing to that with a spot position? Like there's nothing worth doing, with that. Maybe buy the dip at 25.3. Maybe if we go to 23.5, buy that too. But other than that, when you have a high resolution cross like this and a high time frame cross, it's actually outright dangerous to be exiting to buy back lower. The time to do that is when we're below all these important MAs. Once you cross those MAs, like the rules have changed. And if you are aware that the rules have changed, then you're going to be able to position yourself to benefit the most. But if you're still operating on the old set of rules, you're going to be in a world of pain.
Yep, constantly chasing,
Hmm.
and then when you press the buy button, it kicks you out.
Oh yeah, and at that point, you really start to give up large sections of the market cycle. Like if you didn't buy Solana at $10, like like the reality is that for that coin you have already given up some opportunity cost. If this goes to 80, right? You've given up opportunity cost. It doesn't mean that it's over. It doesn't mean that you can't buy at 20 or 16 and still have a lot of upside, but some opportunity cost has been missed. And so if you don't buy Bitcoin and now it goes to 34,000 or 35, now the opportunity cost becomes even larger. If we're talking about $48,000 targets, at that point you're looking at a 10K move before we running into resistance. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of chasing price and trying to buy back 5% lower, 10% lower, especially with the entire portfolio.
Yeah, you can't
Dart
do that.
asked, "What is your Ethereum position?" I stated earlier, I don't really have any Ethereum outside of Arbitrum. In regards to ZK airdrops, what I find surprising about ZK is the chain ZK Zcash in general is an underperforming chain, which has underperformed for years on end. I don't understand why ZK Snarks is bullish in general at all when where it's coming from is just a garbage fire anyways.
Is that where
Zcash
is
is
that where ZK rollup is from?
if I,
Zcash?
if I'm not mistaken, if I'm not mistaken, ZK Snarks comes from Zcash. And so Zcash
Really?
is super bearish. And so if that is coming from Zcash, how is this narrative bullish for anything? I mean, this thing has done nothing but go down. I mean, they should rebrand the name of Zcash to Zero Cash because any dollar that you've put into that coin has slowly got reduced over weeks and years.
Correct. But so here's my opinion on ZK. Zero cash. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the people that went over there have zero cash. But crypto data, um, here's how I see it. People were on Arbitrum waiting for this airdrop that at some point they knew they weren't. I mean, it seemed like it wasn't ever coming. And people have been playing Arbitrum for like a year now. A lot of this stuff consolidated. Like if you look at like stuff like Jones and Magic, like they got wrecked and they were holding kind of like, oh, the airdrop will come one day. And then like it took a long time, but in that time, DeFi projects were built, an ecosystem was built, communities were built, people built conviction, whales. There's a tremendous amount of value on the chain accumulating projects. That's how you get a proper cycle. And then the airdrop hits and everybody's like, yeah, it's over. But I think it happens so fast, and I'm seeing a lot of people really trying to force that rotation. Where I wouldn't be surprised because, like, if you look at the chain, more and more ETH is being bridged over. So you could see an actual larger cycle happen on Arbitrum that a lot of people will miss because they're chasing other chains when what they need is literally right in front of them, but they miss that. So they're like, oh, I misheard on Arbitrum. I didn't play Grail. I didn't play Hammy. I didn't play this. I'm going to go to ZK and buy ZK Doge. Like that is not a winning strategy. It's just not. You have to be ahead of your timing matters. Like you didn't want to be the guy on Arbitrum coping. But the reality is, if you were buying like Grail and Zyber and all these coins, you had a shitty 6 months, but then you made it all back in 1 month, like really quickly. So like those people sold and took profit, and now it's like it needs to go up again. It can go up again because everybody is calling it dead, and I don't think it is.
Absolutely. Like I said, we haven't had the velocity of capital even peak yet. Right now, they're still unloading the FUD machines. Every single leg up,
Yeah.
it's new FUD.
It's a fear
New
cycle.
FUD.
Yeah.
Yep. It's going to be the fear cycle until we hit the range highs, and then it's going to be the greed cycle, right? They're just going to start selling you reasons to keep buying all the way down. It's just the same thing over and over again. So, at this point in time, the mass population is still blinded from opportunity here. And by the time, for example, when we do this live stream 3 months from now, 4 months from now, I guarantee you the live viewers are going to be 10x'd. And that's going to be sentiment. When the live viewers are 10x and when everyone's all of a sudden interested in crypto again, and we're looking at resistance levels on the charts that we talked about 3 months ago, 6 months ago, that's going to be a confluential data point in regards to scaling out of positions once again.
They're going to be mad at us too because they just bought at like 45K and they think it's going to all-time high and they're recalling us idiots.
Oh yeah, same cycle.
That's what'll happen. I don't think we'll have 10x viewers because we're not gonna be sitting there telling them what they want to hear. But
that too.
At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I mean, like, what I will say is, like, I wouldn't be surprised to see Arb run again, and like, don't sleep on AVAX. Honestly, like, I think AVAX is worth a look. Maybe not this second, but like not the coin itself, like maybe the coin, but like more so the ecosystem. Because if you look at like Joe is pumping. Like Joe looks really bullish, which is like that's like their exchange. That's like their Uniswap on AVAX is Joe, and Joe USDT is just fucking ripping. Which and it's still down like 90% from all time high, but Joe is actually looking quite bullish. There's a lot of nice farms over there, but AVAX they have a community. They've been in the dumps for now a good year and a half. Like, if I had to bet what would go first or what would go harder between between AVAX and ZK, I would say AVAX will go first before ZK because ZK just didn't pay their dues. You got to pay your dues. Like you may have like something like ZK Doge, which has 50K liquidity, do a 10x and like maybe 5 people will make money and then everybody else will lose money. But like if you're talking about like a proper chain cycle, I don't think it's now. And I think something like AVAX could actually do it in the upcoming months.
Yeah, and the thing is, if there is already value being poured into the Arbitrum space, and that's the rich chain, like, okay, this is a good metaphor or a good example. We had BSC and Ethereum both take off. You had a lot of performance coming from Ethereum and you had Uniswap, and then you had BSC and you had a lot of performance there too. You had things that went 100x, 500x. However, the bulk was happening on Ethereum. And I think that's, in regards to like the velocity of capital entering something like the AVAX chain versus Arbitrum, it's Arbitrum over and over again. It's the same example you're talking about in regards to buying ZK. You were given the example in buying a ZK Doge or whatever. Like the idea isn't to go where there isn't a trend. the trend is Arbitrum and it's likely to stay there. And, you know, if it's not Grail, it's going to be something else. But like attention in the magnifying scope is better utilized in having it over Arbitrum than any other chain. Even if there's like a 10x that arrives somewhere else on AVAX, the liquidity is going to be low. The amount of people there are going to be low. The probability is going to be lower for that to even happen. It's just that, currency is a current, and you want to be where the current is strongest. That's Arbitrum, flat out.
Yeah.
Anywhere else there could be value, but the river's not that large.
You're right. That being said, like Amir, Emmer, I can't pronounce the guy who the CEO of AVAX, he's like on the CFTC board, and they have a massive marketing budget. Plus, there is like strong community there, so I would argue that it's not going to be as liquid as Arbitrum, of course, but that being said, there there's a possibility that there could be good plays there, and stuff like Joe and you know there was ample liquidity. It's not like you can't play. I know plenty of people that pulled a lot of money out of that fucking chain. Not me, unfortunately, but you had time over there, and yeah, time was on Arbitrum. I mean, there was millions of dollars were made over there. So, I mean, not Arbitrum. I'm sorry, AVAX. But yeah, it's worth keeping an eye on and starting to research. Do I think it will be have more TVL than Arbitrum? No, not a chance in hell. But it never hurts to diversify. So if you have a chain wide pump, the stuff that's been accumulating and going sideways or left for dead does 100x off those levels, and multiple things on the chain do that. So if you have some diversification, you can have 3 or 4 coins do 50 to 100x, and you pull from each one and you make a lot of money. Not a, it's not worth. I mean, it's worth looking into, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I think that the best is yet to come, for the entire market this year.
Agreed.
And there isn't, this isn't a time to be, oh my God, cautious, the decimation is coming. No, I think there's going to be pullbacks. And I think that, in the broader macro sense, there's a lot more macro upside. I can't say the same for a lot of the equities I'm looking at. I see a lot of bearishness there. I've been looking constantly. You might see some equity rotate back into China, stocks like NIO, Alibaba. You might see a rotation there. Maybe for another stream we'll have that. But a lot of the things that I was already looking at ran. Tesla, I'm still bullish on it for higher expectations. However, I'm not a buyer here. If we can come back down to 140, 150, I'll be glad to take a look at it again and maybe add some more over there. But right now, all of my attention's into crypto. And so,
yes, sir.
Hope this was informative to the 59 people watching. Like it, share it.
Yeah, right. It's oh man, what are you gonna do? Hey, we don't do a video for 6 weeks, 8 weeks. I mean, this is what happens. But I'm pretty sure if we did constant content, there would be more viewers. But at the end of the day, I'll take it as sentiment, and hopefully the people watching enjoyed. I enjoyed doing it, and that's all that matters, frankly.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it as well. And, the reality is that, I make my money trading. I make my money investing.
Right.
This is my passion. I enjoy it. It doesn't matter if the audience is 50, 60, 70, 500. It doesn't matter to me because ultimately my equity is not coming from there. My equity is coming from what I say and what I'm doing, right? From what I'm actually trading. So
when we have these discussions, we actually, find trades within them, it's a valuable discussion just for us to have. So if there's no audience, it still creates the same dynamic where we're thinking about different things and bouncing different ideas and checking each other on our ideas, where this has value. So we just happen to do it on YouTube. But your shoulders looking kind of big. You've been working out or what?
I have been working out. We're stacking we're stacking some gains over here.
Yeah, your buys are bigger than mine. Holy shit, look at you.
Training, 5 days a week, 200 grams of protein a day, staying disciplined. After I saw you in Dubai, I was like, man, I got to get on my game. I was completely melted in Dubai. So I had to start putting on some size again.
Yeah,
You know,
Wow.
maybe I'll get into boxing too, but we'll see. We'll see about that. I've been saying that, but right now I'm just focused on bodybuilding, trading,
Look at that.
and managing equity, trying to get through this year. Once we get through this year, in regards to the season of profits, then probably getting around traveling again, trying to see some new places.
Yes, sir. Yeah. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Had a great time. Make sure to like, subscribe, and we'll see you when we see you.
Thanks for having me on, KJ. Cheers, everyone. Have
My
a good
pleasure.
night
Thanks for joining.
wherever you're from.